Hey everybody, welcome back to today's edition of NDD. I'm in my summer school classroom for the day, so wanted to make sure I was able to get the show to you during some downtime that I had before the day ends, and I want to jump right into the recruiting landscape. 2027 class, I mentioned yesterday, and I've said it a couple of times, it's all about stacking, right, with recruiting. We have the portal, we have NIL, we know those things. They're not going anywhere. Could we talk ad nauseum and at length about managing the portal better, managing NIL before it got out of control? Sure, that's for another day. That could take days to do. But as far as recruiting is concerned, for Notre Dame, when I use that term stacking, you started with great class in 25, built this remarkable group in 2026. Now let's continue it in 2027. And while the Irish would absolutely love to bulk up in the middle of that defensive line for future seasons from a depth perspective, quarterback is always top of mind for most power Division I programs, Notre Dame included. And when you look at this, four-star quarterback Teddy Gerard, who I've spoken about numerous times on the program, who's been heavily linked to Notre Dame in recent weeks, is set to announce his collegiate decision on Thursday of this week. That's July 24th. A 2027 kid with a top five that obviously includes Notre Dame, along with Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Notre Dame looks like it's in very solid shape to land the services of the kid from North Cobb High in Georgia. He's a prolific passer, one of the tops in the class, 6'3", 200-pounder, great frame, incredible athleticism. Received his initial offer from Notre Dame in this year in late June. Should he ultimately decide later this week to commit to Notre Dame, he'll be the third player in the 27 group to do so. Of course, we know that linebacker Ellis McGaskin and long snapper Sean Kraft have already done so. So what you would be looking at with a kid like Gerard is, if he does commit to come play his collegiate football at the University of Notre Dame, that skill set led by the eye-popping athleticism, in high school, baseball, football, so he's got the dual sport maneuverability there. This kid can go sideline to sideline, throw it down the field with the best of them, which is why he's one of the most coveted recruits, not just by the Irish, but many teams, 22-plus offers across the country. You talk about moving the change through the air with that mobility. He can do that. That's a dual set quarterback, and Teddy Gerard possesses just that. And what they'll love in South Bend, and we've come to know this over the past decades, and what Notre Dame prides itself on, performance in the classroom. Gerard carries a GPA over 4.0, so that is absolutely something that would sit well with university officials beyond just the football program. So we'll keep an eye on this. The announcement comes this week, unless there's a pushback, which there's been no indications that that's going to happen. So 2027 quarterback, one of the top ones, Teddy Gerard, will make that decision later this week, and we will know, and I'll keep you posted just as soon as it happens. Getting back to our freshman profiles, we'll talk a little special teams today with 6'2", 210-pounder from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Eric Schmidt, the consensus three-star recruit out of Marquette University High in Milwaukee. During his recruitment, he was in 2025 the top-ranked kicker in America, place kicker, and a punter in high school. So you get that double whammy there, which makes you even more attractive. School records across the board, including the longest field goal made at 55 yards on the varsity level. Total points, he has the most by a kicker, extra points made, and most touchbacks. He was a participant in the 2025 Under Armour All-America game, so the national notice was there for young Eric Schmidt as he was being recruited. 10 to 13 field goal attempts made during his senior season, an average of 46 yards on all of those makes. And then when you talk about his punting skills, this is a kid that brings a strong acumen there as well. 46 net yard average on punts during that same season, and he was incredibly accurate. And you can see this on film when it came to landing balls inside the 20-yard line. Interesting thing to note, original commit to Wisconsin, which makes sense being from Milwaukee, but he ultimately chose to flip to Notre Dame over that early commit to Wisconsin, and then you had Missouri and Michigan that were in the mix there. So Notre Dame gets a record-setting high school kicker from not too far away in the state of Wisconsin, and now they'll be able to start to think about the future here. We've seen Notre Dame use the portal the past couple of seasons for quarterbacks. In place kickers, Spencer Schrader, Mitch Jeter, most recently helping Notre Dame get to a national championship appearance last season. But when you talk about someone like a freshman here and the role potentially of what Eric Schmidt could experience, the flip to Notre Dame from Wisconsin was huge for Marcus Freeman, and it was huge for special teams coach Marty Biaggi. So the expectations now exist that you went out and got America's best kicker in the 2025 class, a kid that can kick it off the turf or punt it down the field. You get a place kicker, punter, 2-in-1 combo. How do you want to use them? And while I do understand that handling dual responsibilities as both a punter and a place kicker is extremely difficult at the Division I level, I am not poo-pooing that, or anywhere really. If you do double duty, it is not easy. It's tough to completely rule that out here. And I'm not talking about this season, I'm talking about 26 and beyond. As of now, Schmidt will serve behind UNC transfer Noah Burnett, who's Notre Dame's starting place kicker, while slotting in behind veteran James Rendell on the punting side. And you've got, of course, junior Marcello Diamidi on the place kicking depth chart as well. So there is competition up and down the depth chart. But the opportunity to learn from both Burnett, who brings a nice resume from North Carolina, and Rendell, who's done a solid job since joining Notre Dame, is going to serve this kid very well in future seasons. Oh, by the way, having a special team coach like Marty Biaggi will never hurt. We know that. We've seen that the past couple of seasons. So the role is fairly matter of fact, is it not? Learn the kicking ropes in South Bend and prepare to potentially and perhaps likely take over primary place kicking duties next season in 2026. Does Schmidt appear to be the heir apparent to Burnett in 26 and beyond? Eliminate him from handling punting duties as well once Rendell moves on? I don't think so. But since it's something that hasn't been seen all that much, it's not impossible, all right? We don't see it too much. Schmidt has spoken about this in different interviews he's done in the past where even though he might like to do both, he realizes that it's probably unlikely. But is it enough to totally dismiss it? No, largely because the young man excelled at such a high level in high school in handling both roles that it's something that you at least have to consider. But I think if you were asking me to say, all right, he's going to do one of the two jobs, place kicker or punter in the future, I think right now, even with Diamidi on the roster, Eric Schmidt is probably the heir apparent from a kicking duty perspective to Noah Burnett when his eligibility expires at the end of this season. So this is an interesting one. Breaking down all the freshmen are very interesting, but when you talk about special teams, it's such an important aspect of the game. And Notre Dame has been very prideful about the fact and very diligent and specific about how they put their special teams units together the last couple seasons via the portal. But now you're trying to groom your own moving forward once Noah Burnett's time this upcoming season in Notre Dame expires. You have a couple of options on the depth chart, Eric Schmidt certainly being one of them. Let's jump into some of the comments that you guys have left over the past couple days and weeks. Again, I always appreciate the interaction. I love it. I love the banter. And when you're talking about recruiting, and that's been the hot button issues as we are about 6 weeks away from the start of the upcoming season with Game 1 in Miami. You talk about the 26 class and wrapping this up with Elijah Golden. You go out and get him, you're done on defense. Well, the original commitment date for Elijah Golden was July 26th. Now that's been moved back to August 9th. And while many of us, including myself, were beyond optimistic that Golden had Notre Dame as his favorite, a good contingent of the fan base, and understandably, sort of have softened their expectations. Dash X 1103 writes, I don't see landing Golden, end quote, which is a shame. It will put more pressure on the portal for defensive tackle. Look, it's hard to argue the disappointment there, as the Irish looked like they were more than in the driver's seat. I say that pretty comfortably just a few days back. We'll see what happens, Dash, but I'm with you. I'm not as optimistic as I once was for the reasons that I stated, especially now when you consider that Alabama has really took an uptick in the way that they're going after Golden and the pressure that they're applying. It's going to be interesting to seeing, is it out of the question? No, but I think with Notre Dame being that heavy favorite a couple of days and weeks ago, I think we're trending more 50-50 coin toss here, perhaps with even a lean to the Crimson Tide. But we will know one way or the other, August 9th. Don Lloyd also noted concerning Golden, pushing his date back, that he now feels some concern with the potential landing at all of the 4-star in South Bend. So forget about 50-50. Don doesn't think it's going to happen. We can only wait and see. August 9th is fast approaching. I get all the thought processes by many within the fan base about this recruitment, because from what we had heard, read, discussions that we've had about it, it looked pretty damn good until recently. But this happens in recruiting. We've seen it a lot. And we've seen it as great as this 26 class has been. There have been some swings and misses. It happens. Overwhelmingly good. More W's than L's in the 26 class. And Notre Dame would really like to lock up this 26 defensive group with Golden. But again, if they don't, is it disastrous? No. And now you got to focus perhaps via portal, but definitely recruiting trail, bulking up the middle of that defensive line. You want more support from that 26 group with a guy like Tikiola moving forward. Devin Robertson, who I talked about yesterday, is certainly a good fit. Florida's Jamar Thompson, Jalen Brewster, those are another couple of names that you could throw in there in that 27 group that might be able to slot in if Notre Dame is able to get commits from them. And as we go out, I just want to note Michael Crimmon's writing that he appreciates the show talking about values. Now, what Mike is referencing there was my discussion about Emil Wagner earning a nomination for a place on the All-State Good Works team. Mike, I do appreciate the kind words, as always. And again, congrats to Emil. The kid just does great things on the football field. We know that at the right tackle position, but he's so impactful and active community-wise, and with the Notre Dame student body, which includes himself, but he's taken on that leadership role off the gridiron, which is very special and something that's great to see. And when we see things like that, it's a Notre Dame football show, yes, but it doesn't always have to be about what happens on the football field. I am glad the freshman profiles have become so popular. Jimmy Kelly noting that the show is getting you pumped for a great year. Me too, and I'm happy to help. I'm happy to continue to bring the shows to you boys and girls out there. I'm incredibly happy to have you aboard. And I've really, really enjoyed this, and I appreciate that the viewership and the subscriptions have continued to go north. It means collectively we're all doing something right. So wherever you may be tuning in from today, I'm in my classroom again. I hope you have a great rest of yours. I'll talk to you all tomorrow. And as always, go Irish.